Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Live, Laugh, and Eat show. My name is Benedine Otto. I'm a certified transformational nutrition coach. I'm an EFT practitioner, and I'm also the managing editor of a magazine called the Live, Laugh, and Eat magazine. Now, our special guest today is Jace Jacobs. Now, Jace Jacobs is a happy mindset poet, a performer, and creator at jacejacobs.com. Now, Jace is an author and a spoken word poetry performer. His happy mindset poetry books are available on Amazon or via jacejacobs.com. Now, Jace enjoys helping cool souls raise their vibrational state so they can experience more confidence and clarity in their life. He's also a regular contributor for the Live, Laugh, and Eat magazine. Welcome, Jace.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Oh, I really appreciate that. And I want to just show you some major appreciation because, back in it must have been 2016, I was trying to figure out myself in which direction I wanted to go. And I know that I reached out to you way late in the process and I said, hey, would I be able to contribute a Father's Day article? And you said, no problem. And it had to have been a couple of days before your deadline. It was like really tight. But you granted me that. And then here we are. It's been, 2.5, 3 years later. I'm still writing every month. So,
I know your articles are amazing and your poems. But before we start going into that, tell us a little bit about how did you get started in your career? Your story, because we all have a story.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just 1 second. One other quick appreciation. I have to do that. I got to send this out there because I also went to the Institute of Transformational Nutrition. So I'm also a certified transformational nutrition coach. So I want to send some love out to all my ITN brothers and sisters out there. I know we all get busy, we get pulled away in our different careers and what's going on, but that school has a special place in my heart. So any of those folks listening, I see you, I appreciate you. And yeah, so just keep on doing your thing and know that you're appreciated because we're brothers and sisters. I had to say that. Our story. Okay, so we're going way back. I guess, what do I want to say? I like to go with what's coming out of me. So what's coming out of me is I'm feeling like going back to junior high. And I think what happened in junior high is I discovered a little bit of a love for lyrics. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was, and this is back in the day. So we're talking the 80s here. I remember going to the store and getting a cassette tape and then putting that in. It was Beastie Boys. And I liked all different kind of music, but that's just the one that's popping up in my head. And I remember hearing the No Sleep Till Brooklyn. And I was just like, what is going on here? And then I heard, another one of their songs and just the lyrics, the way they were going was like freaking me out. Like, this is crazy. And then Run DMC and then, country songs, any song where you can actually understand the lyrics, it got to me, it spoke to me. So I started writing a little bit of stuff in junior high. And I shared it with one person and they basically said it was crap.
No.
And said, this is horrible. And of course, junior high, I didn't even know what self-love was. I didn't have self-esteem. I felt like I was popular, but I didn't know what to do with that. So it wasn't used to my advantage. Let's put it that way. I wasn't myself. I was being restricted. I was being held back. Like tying your hands behind your back and then trying to move through your day. That's really what I was. And as I got a little bit older, it's like I started to slowly crack my shell. And I was like, no, I do have a voice. I want to share my voice. Okay, how do we do that? What do I talk about? And so I slowly started finding more of that extroverted part of me that didn't want to just talk to be heard, but wanted to express who I was and express love. And so it took a long time. I mean, that was a long journey. I remember I would go to, once I was above age 21, I would go to bars and sing karaoke, but not without my friends or family knowing about it, because I was self-conscious of what they would think about me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would do those type of things. I signed up for a guitar class at a community college, and I went and played there, but I wouldn't do it in front of my friends and family. It was one of those weird things. I had a lot of things I had to work on, which probably, if we fast forward, a lot of that stuff going on is probably what led me to the Institute of Transformational Nutrition, because I heard Cynthia, the founder, on Sean Croxton's podcast. And I think that was called Underground Wellness back in the day.
Yeah.
So I heard that, and I was thinking, something about it resonated with me. And I literally had 2 days to join. It was like a quick thing, you got to get in there. And I think that was really good for me, because I had already started my awakening process. I started working on myself. I started doing intermittent fasting. Well, if I was listening to Underground Wellness, I had to have been starting that journey, as many listeners probably started somewhere along the line of, they heard some, they read about some, they watched a YouTube video. So get to the point, dude. I went to that school, and I started meeting cool people like you, and I started embracing okay, well, I don't have to do meditation sitting down all uncomfortable. I can do standing meditation. I can, there's tons of different ways of doing meditation. So I was like, wow, okay, and now I'm doing meditation consistently. And it was huge for me. So learning about the difference between religion and spirituality was huge for me, because I didn't see myself as a religious person, but I found out I was deeply spiritual. I'm crazy spiritual, without someone having to tell me about it. And once I learned about that, I was like, oh, I do all those things. I think about those things. And so it was really cool to go through that process. And the more I went through, the more layers I was taking off that was hiding who I really was. And so along the way, I wrote some songs in the past, but I wouldn't share them with anybody. And so I was writing, but I didn't share that stuff for the longest time. I shared some poems with a couple girls when I was in my 19 or 20, and that was cool, but I didn't share it with anybody else, because my buddies with a pound in me, but I had it in me. And so I wrote a ton. I remember I lost a poetry book at work one time, and one of the managers found it and made fun of me, and I was just devastated. And but I stayed with it. I kept writing in the darkness, in the shadows. I was writing, and I got a little bit older and learned all this self-love, learned all this self-esteem, and learned, look, you don't have to worry about what someone else thinks about you. That's not what's important. What's most important is what you think about you. And once that really clicked on, I was like, all right, okay, what are we doing? What did I love about myself I was afraid to share? I wore bandanas when I was younger, and when I got into corporate, I wasn't wearing them anymore, and I wasn't wearing them that much on the weekends and stuff. And so that was one of the first things I did, is I'm strapping on a bandana, because you know what? I'm not going to be worried if someone's thinking, calling me Bruce Springsteen or some rocker or something. I'm not going to be worried about what they call me. No, I want to roll with a bandana, so I'm going to have fun with it. And so I started doing that. And everything is layers and layers and layers. It's little steps. It's like drips in a bucket. If those drips keep coming, eventually they're going to fill up that bucket. And that's what I was going through, that process, on that journey, is filling up my bucket to the point where I was ready and confident to share the true me with the world. And I started on Facebook. I dangled a little poem, probably in the ITN community, shared a little something. And then eventually I shared a little video, and I discovered a little cool thing is, I was actually terrified of doing selfie videos. So that was something I had to work on. But what I wasn't terrified of is to jump on a video call like this. We're doing, for the podcast listeners, we're doing Zoom, so we can actually see each other. We're doing that kind of conversation. And so what I found is I geeked out. I'm looking at that, little camera hole, so I know you see my eyeballs, and I see you, and having that exchange, there was no fear there. So I geeked out on that, and I discovered soon that I could do the same thing with my poetry, right? Is that I had to just think of the little camera hole, the little camera lens as my friend on the other side, and my friend wants to hear some poetry. And so that's what I started. I snuck a little something out there, and this is getting long, but I have some more points I want to make here. So bear with me. Excited about this is I was cleaning my garage in, I don't know, it was probably like 2016 maybe. And I was cleaning my garage, maybe it was 2017. And I'd already dangled a little bit of poetry out there, just a smidgen of poetry out there. And I was cleaning my garage, and I found my poetry book from 1993.
Oh,
I'm dating myself. I was an adult. I was 1993. And so I found the poetry book, and I knew which poetry book it was. And I flipped through the pages. There's a bunch of poems in there, but I was looking for one specific one that I wrote for a girl. And I found it. I started laughing and smiling. I read it, and I was like, all right, there's one really bad, cheesy line in the middle, but for the most part, I would probably write it the same. For those of you that don't know me, my writing style is just more lyrical and rhyming. It's real simple. And I'm not trying to trick anybody with the words. I'm just going with feeling, and I'm writing about happy things and things that inspire me. So I do that, and I do a little bit of lovey-dovey on the side. But I found that poem, and so I was like really stoked about it. I was like, all right, this is crazy. All right, this is cool, because I kind of forgot about it over the years. I could remember the first part, but I couldn't remember the whole thing. And as an artist, you really want to know those beginnings. You want to know those early pieces, right? You don't want to lose those. And so the next morning, there's a point to the story. And so the next morning, I'm standing outside my backyard because there's nobody that lives behind me. So I can see it, and my backyard faces the east. So I'm out there doing my sunrise morning meditation routine. And actually on this morning, I was in my underwear because my neighbors, I have a single level house, and my neighbors built 2 stories. And so their 2 stories can look into my backyard, even though they're on the side of me. And I was doing my own little way of a peaceful protest. Like, you want to see something? 2 stories. I'll show you something. So I'm out there meditating in my underwear. And all of a sudden these words came to me. And the words came to me was, I appreciate the sunrise and the birds flying by, clouds creating shapes in the painted sky. The trees are firmly rooted, the wind blows from me, there's beauty all around, a gift for all to see. And I kept riffing and rhyming and flowing a little bit more, and I was like, I just wrote a poem. I was like, but I don't have anything with me. And you know, when you write, you got to write it down. You got to record it. If you're not careful, it's gone. Like, bye-bye. So here I am meditating in my underwear in my backyard. I do a poem, and then I freak out, like, I got to go get a phone or something. I got to write this down. So I run back in, write it down, finish the rest of the poem. Then I made the bold decision to memorize it, and then do a video of it on social media, post it on social media. And I got some positive vibes from it, and it was really fun. So I was like, oh, this is cool. This is brand new. So a couple days later, I wrote another one, and then another one. And then I made the decision. I was telling my wife, I'm like, I'm gonna put together a poetry book. And I'm sure she was thinking, whatever, poetry boy, you know, whatever. Because just a little, and maybe your listeners can relate to this, is that I always wanted to be an author. And I'm sure a lot of people always wanted to be an author. And I'm sure, just like me, everyone started many books, but didn't finish any of them, right?
Yeah.
That's how I was. I mean, I was writing stuff. I was always going to be some sort of author. Maybe it wasn't going to be specifically poetry, but I was going to write something. I was writing. And so I'm sure that's what my wife was probably thinking initially. It was like, all right, you know, she was nice, but I'm sure she was thinking whatever. And so I went and got all my old poems, and I put together like 30 of them or 40 of them. And I was looking at it going, well, should I release this? Just like I got enough. And as each day went by, as I was trying to organize that book, I'd write a new poem, and I'd kick an old poem out. And before long, I was kicking all the old poems out. I just kept writing new pieces. And then I put together a book. I made a strategic decision to make the book small because I noticed when I was flipping through pages at like a Target of these big poetry books, I was like, well, I don't think you can consume this whole book in one day. Mm. And what if you write a really cool piece that is like your 50th poem out of 100 poems and nobody ever sees it because it's like somewhere in the book and they just can't get to it. And so I made the strategic decision to say, no, I want to make small books. I want to put it together. I want to ship it. Put another one together and ship it. And so that's what I did. I made a small book, put it out there, and it was like announcing to the world that I am a poet, right? Yeah. And I didn't even know it, right? And but I was embracing it. And so I did all that at the beginning of 2017 is when I announced to the world officially. It's like coming out of the closet. I came out of the closet as I am a poet. And then I said, well, I'm a happy mindset poet because I didn't want sad and depressing. I didn't want woe is me. I wanted to move forward with good vibrations. And it's like law of attraction. I want good vibrations back to me. So I need to project good vibrations. I need to put that out into the world. And then it's like setting up my own little telephone line, waving my hand. Good vibrations, come get me. I'm here. I'm ready to receive you. So I wanted to put that out into the world. And so, yeah, I put together the book, and then I did a second book soon after. And then I started learning how to put this stuff on social media, which becoming a rather long story, but if you want to get a little sadness, there was a little bit of sadness involved, is that if you think about the people that knew me when I was younger, when I was hiding who I really was, imagine how they felt when all of a sudden this dude left corporate and got all pieced out and got a transformational nutrition certificate. And he's all spiritual now. And he's all talking about mindset. You know what I mean? He's all life coaching now. It freaked them out. It freaked out my friends and family because I think they were comfortable with insecure, low self-esteem, the shell of his former self, Jace, right? Yeah. I actually, my birth name is Jason. And so part of this process is I looked back on in my past that I really felt good vibes from the people that would on their own shorten my name to Jace because they were comfortable doing that. And so I've been going by Jace with new people for 15 years or something like that. And then eventually I officially, legally changed my name to Jace. It's like, I appreciate Jason. Thank you, Jason. But I was like, I'm moving forward as Jace officially, right? So I'm legally Jace. And so I moved forward with that and, had some ups and downs because, and hopefully this is of value and I'm not just blabbing to your audience, but there were some ups and downs because you're tested again with self-love, self-esteem. You put something out there that is so personal, right? You put it out to the world with a bandana strapped around your head and you're smiling, you're going to get some hate. You're going to get some people that are not comfortable with that. And so I got some of that, including family and friends that were like, look, we're just, you changed.
Yeah, it's right? Like they say, haters is, they everywhere. You will get them, and you just have to move on, and let them be, you know what I mean? I have both your books, and I love them. When there's days that I feel down, I just go in your book and I read one poem, and I just feel like, I feel more happier, and my mood is, better. And I know that you mentioned that you're working on your third book.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because when you do one book, you always hear about the sophomore slump. Mm-hmm. And then I did the second book and I was like, man, I like some of these poems better than the first book. So I was like, all right, I feel good about what I feel about it,
Yeah.
right? That I enjoyed that second book. And then I started working on the third book, and, you know, life got really busy there because there's a lot going on. And so, you know, I had half of the book done right away in probably
Yeah.
2018. And so I'm still working on it, right? This and that. And then eventually I had plenty of poems, and it was a matter of narrowing the focus, right? Like, which ones am I going to release? And I'll save the rest for another book. And so, yeah, so I started playing around with that. And then what I realized in the process of creating a book as a new author is I didn't learn about titles. And like, if you flash a book on a screen for 3 seconds and then take it away, the general audience that doesn't know you, will they know what that book's about? So
That's true.
when my first two books, which essentially were done at the same time, is I didn't really know that. And so I didn't know what to do for a title. And so I had fallen into this habit on social media of signing off on videos with like high five knuckles. It was just sort of happened. And so I was getting a lot of that from people, you know, the knuckles thing. And so I was into meditation. And so it ended up being Namaste Knuckles. And so that's what I put on my book titles. And that was really big, Namaste Knuckles. And then in small words was poetry for the enlightenment curious. Well, when you flash up on the screen, nobody sees, it's so small, nobody sees that. So it's like, lessons learned is what I'm getting at. So with my third book is I learned from that and I realized, okay, what's the real message that I want to send out to the universe with my third book? That I want it to be crystal clear if you throw it up on a screen. And so what I decided on is I was like, you know what, the real thing I want to get across to people is I want them to know, I want them to be empowered that they can feel better right now. Right? And so look, I went with feel better now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I like that.
And so I wrote a poem about it. And so I said, feel better right now. And I was just thinking that if I flash that up on the screen and take it away, I think most of the audience is going to know, well, it's a book that's about feeling better now. So they can't get it wrong, right? And so I think I checked off that box. And so, yeah, I've been having fun with it and putting some of those pieces out on social media. I made the brave decision to move from Facebook to YouTube about a year ago. So I've been having fun there and finding new people that knew nothing about me and, you know, just building a bigger audience there. And so, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It's all about, well, you know, I could share a poem. I could share a poem from the new book if you'd like.
Yes, that would be nice. And before you do that, are you also on Audible as well with your books as well? So people can go check you out on Audible as well.
Yeah, so with Audible is I that's another quick little short little story that hopefully is beneficial to the audience, is that I wrote those books in 2017. Yeah, I'm an author. Yes, okay, let's go do the audio. And I went to a studio and I paid money and I did my audio and it was horrible. I couldn't see myself in a professional studio. And so I like crashed and burned and I failed. I failed at it. And then I tried again in 2018 and I failed. And so I finally realized, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to record this myself. I'm going to figure out how to do it myself. And so, yeah, I finally recorded audiobook number 1 and I got that out in 2019, a little bit behind, you know, it's a couple of years behind, but I did it. I overcame that failure. And so recently I've just finished audiobook number 2 and it's submitted to Audible. And, you know, it's going to take 5 to 10 days and then they're going to approve it. So I will definitely have a second audiobook on Audible and iTunes here shortly. And now with this third book, it's like I got to do the print version first and the digital version just so I make sure I'm crystal clear on the flow. Then I'm not going to wait around. I'm definitely going to jump right in and get this third audiobook done because I feel like the audio is fun. Printed book is cool, but audiobook, I put more in there.
Yeah.
Like I don't do the words. And I'm not reading line from line. I mean, I have to do what's in the book, but I'm adding so much more to it. So the audiobook, to me, is more fun than the printed or the digital book. But anyway, thank you for asking about that. Yeah, it's having fun with audio and just learning that process. And
I think it will be great as well, you know, if you're in your car or you somewhere, you know, you at doctor's appointment before you go in and you listen to your poems. I think that will be wonderful, you know, instead of carrying the book around, you know, you can listen, you know, to your poems on Audible. I mean, that is wonderful. So will you share a poem with us from your new book?
yeah, one that I'm
Okay.
thinking of in my mind. Actually, I have it in my little. You can't see me on video, listeners, but I have a I have a little post-it in my bandana. It's like a little bandana backup stash, and this little
Okay.
post-it, I was thinking about. I knew I wanted to share a poem on here, and I was thinking, what could I give value with? And so this one came to my mind, and I went with it. I'm always trusting my feelings. I go with my feelings, and so we'll do a little critical. This one is, it's my responsibility. And so let me do the poem, maybe I'll talk about it, but it's my responsibility. I heard a powerful question. Whose job is it to love me? I searched deep for my answer. It's my responsibility. Love begins as an inside job, influencing in every way. How I treat myself and others, my emotions affect the day. The universe is always present, blending in and not being seen. It does not hear what you say. It only responds to what you mean. So if I want those good vibrations, I better begin by loving me. It's not someone else's job, nah. It's my responsibility. All right, there you go. That's the poem.
I love that, and I can't wait for your new book, you know, to get your new book and read all about your new poems. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Just want to step back a little bit. Just one question, and you. I mean, you are so positive and you're so vibrant. Do you get days that you feel like you're down? You know, do you get your off days?
Yeah, of course, I'm human. I don't know if you noticed, I am human. You know, I like thinking of myself as a star seed, you know, sent here to raise vibrations, but I'm actually in a human body. And yeah, I have my down days as well. And the reason I wrote that other poem, it's my responsibility, is because I needed to send the message to myself first and then to others that I'm the only one that can do anything about it, right? When I dip down, you know, there's the emotional ladder, right, of the different emotions. And you know, there's emotions that are vibrating very low,
Mm-hmm.
and all emotions are necessary, right? They serve a purpose, but it doesn't mean we have to stay there, right? When it serves the purpose, you always want to be going to the next one, like going to the next one, right? And I don't have the lower ones memorized, but I'm, you know, pretty sure jealousy is really low and anger is low, but you want to just see what can you do to move up to anger and then move up a little higher to frustration, right? So you always need to challenge yourself. You don't have to do any of this. You should consider challenging yourself to move up that ladder. And when you realize you can have that right now, it's as simple as just changing what you think about. And so that's what I do, is when I get in those moments that I'm just like, oh, you know, I kind of do um, a little trigger, like a little tapping,
Mm-hmm.
almost like EFT, but not EFT, emotional freedom technique, for those of you that aren't familiar, that Bernadine does very, very well. Check her out on YouTube.
Thank
Um,
you.
so I do some of your tapping every once in a while. But what I like to do is just a quick tap, just a tap to the leg, you know, right above the knee, to let me know that, dude, funk it up. I chose a phrase, funk it up, meaning, dude, it's a trigger that reminds me to bring the real, authentic version of myself, the version of myself that I actually want to be, that I believe that I am. And that version of myself is vibrating pretty high up, right? It's appreciating things. So that's what I do, is I tap myself and realize, okay, whatever emotion you're in, what more do you need from it to accomplish what you need? Because It's there for a reason. Express the emotion, but then make that decision of how long do you want to stay there, right? And so if you don't really need to be there any longer, then move out of it and slowly work your way up by thinking the next best thought and the next best thought and the next best thought. And there's plenty of tools out there, plenty of
Yeah.
things that are available that can help you with it. Abraham Hicks has the focus wheel. You can use that process and just right in the middle what you really want, and then start coming up with a thought that's a little closer. And
I love that. I love
yes,
that.
thank you.
So our last question that I want to ask you is, what 3 tips will you give someone who is struggling to live healthy?
Yeah, it's so hard to only do 3, but I like to go with what's inside of me, and
Okay.
what's really popping out right away is, as I'm about to burp on your podcast, what's popping out of me right now is to drop the hot coal. And an example of this is that, I need to take a quick drink. Example of this is I was in a 3rd grade classroom last year, and I was thinking about what to teach the kiddos to help them. And so I wrote a little Post-it note. I got to use the Post-it notes. And so I wrote a little Post-it note, and I said hot coal on it. And I broke that out after I'd already done some poetry for them, and I was talking to them, and I showed them that I had this hot coal, and I was like, oh, it's burning in my hand. Oh, this hot coal is burning. Oh man, what do I do? It hurts so bad. It's burning my hand right now. What do I do? And it was the coolest thing ever is that a 3rd grader said, drop it, right? Just drop the hot coal. And it was so beautiful that a 3rd grader knows that. And sometimes as adults, my first tip is to drop the hot coal, because we don't realize we're holding on to that hot coal, whatever it is. Oh, it's the president. Oh, it's it's that music group. Oh, it's some TV show. It's my football team lost. Oh, it's all these things that are out of your control, but you're holding on to that hot coal and it's burning you. And when you drop it, you start the healing process, right? You start forgiveness. You start to heal. And it gets better. It still hurts a little, but it's going to start getting better. You put a little love on there, maybe kiss it. It's going to get better. So that's my first tip, is to figure out what is the hot coal that you're holding on to in your life, and realize, just drop it. Just drop it. And it could be as simple as just drop your attention on it, right? Because there's plenty of hot coals. We have to work with people, and maybe there's lots of hot coal workers, right? You can't just drop them completely. But you could drop your complete focus on what annoys you about them. You can drop that part of it and just allow them to have their own experience, and you have your experience. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, you know what? I'm just such a big fan of appreciation. So I got to go with appreciation. And I tie meditation and appreciation together. And I use appreciation inside of my meditation routine. And so I like to do what's called active appreciation. It's, after I snow globe it and clear my mind, let the thoughts settle, then I actively appreciate things I've accomplished, whether it's that day, that year, this lifetime, anything that I can appreciate that I've already accomplished. And that gets me in the frame of mind of abundance instead of scarcity. And so that's what I'm going for, is I would encourage listeners to, if they're not already really tied to, and pick your word. I use appreciation. Other people use gratitude. They're basically the same thing. I have some coaches that argue that they're slightly different, but I think they're interchangeable. I prefer using the word appreciation, but gratitude's great. Use it, embrace it. If you're not already really strongly rooted in gratitude or appreciation, grab onto it. It's only going to help you, right? Grab onto that. And let's see for a third one. I guess the third one is to just, I'd probably say love fully. I know I usually say a lot, appreciate everything, love fully, need nothing. But I would say go with love fully and realize that, you can't fight hate with hate, right? You can't do that. I think that's a MLK quote. But you can bring love to the game. right? It's like you don't want to fight fire with fire, right? You bring water
Yeah.
or a different substance that can put out the fire. Well, love's going to put out the hate. So I would say to learn how to embrace love and just loving fully and understanding that there are people out there that are on their own journey, right? And the, you know, the actions that they take is their journey, and how you respond to it is your journey. So if you can learn to respond with love and realize that, oh, they're just on their journey, and right now they're not being very cool. So maybe that's part of their journey. They need to go through some ups and downs, and maybe they got to hit rock bottom and they're not quite there yet. So let's just love them from afar, even though they're not, how should I say this? Even if they're your enemy or they're someone you don't like, you don't appreciate, you can love them from afar, but not have to embrace them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to find the right words. Just love that they're on their own journey and you're on yours, and it's okay that they're different.
Yeah.
And that's gonna further send some more good vibrations through your body, right? Like attracts like, right? You're going to get some more good vibrations from that one. So yeah, I could go on for days, but
Oh, wow. I love that. I mean, I can talk to you for 2 hours long, but we will have to end the podcast now. So it was such a pleasure to have you today, Jace, and I wish you all the success with your new book and, you know, with everything that you do. And thank you for changing the world with your high vibrational energy. So yeah, thank you for being here.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so let's just keep on having fun. All right.
Okay.